Who am I speaking to?
You're speaking to Michelle Bergman in Brooklyn.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
I'm looking forward to seeing you. I've heard your name for many, 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 many years.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not a member of your community, but I do cook some of the food, but I've never made Quince.
Good.
So I decided it's time to try something new, so I'm here to watch.
Perfect. That's exactly the customer that I want today.
Okay.
Someone who's not familiar with it, with this very mysterious fruit.
All right.
Great. Hi, everyone. Very excited. I just spoke to someone. Wait. Okay. So I just had a little conversation with Birkin. Okay. And a nice lady, a nice woman from the community, not from the community, who is not familiar with Quince and would like to learn something new. So, like I said, that's my best, totally my best customer today. I'm sure that less than a week before the holidays, everybody is scooped, stuffed, pickled, or thinking about it. Anyway, there's not really that much time left, but there's always room for something different and new. Now, quince really is not a new fruit. It's from biblical times. It's a traditional Turkish candied fruit. It could be candied, and traditionally it was candied in Turkey. In the Ottoman times, in the Topkapi Palace, they had kitchens, huge kitchens, and many of the kitchens were devoted just to jams and pastries, and quince was one of the most valued and prized fruits. What happened was when it arrived to America and the colonists came and also the Arabic communities came, it withered out because it's not an easy fruit to deal with. Why? Because it's deceiving. You cannot bite into it. Otherwise, you're puckering. You're tasting something that's absolutely unedible. So it has to first be cooked. And without cooking, no good. And a lot of people then at the time, in the 1600s, they started bringing trees when they came from England and from the Arab world. They brought trees with them and they grew them. But after like a century later, they just adapted to apples. Apple pie, apple strudel. Apples were so much easier to prepare. But with quince, the amazing thing is that it has a very high pectin content, and that's why it gels so beautifully. Today, I'll give you a little look. This is what we're going to be preparing. And it's absolutely delicious. It's aromatic. The entire house fills with the aroma. The color is crimson and rose, dark rose, and it just makes everything so beautiful for the holidays. It is the traditional Rosh HaShana sweet that's prepared for the holiday. What I'd like to do is first, I did want to share a little slideshow about what we prepared, hold on, for the holidays so far, just so we don't belittle what we did so far. Hold on. Okay. So just to get a little inspiration for the holiday, we got the trumpet gourd, all the berachot. We should cut off all our enemies, tear up all the bad decrees, have plentiful mitzvot, be the head, not the tail, have a sweet new year, prepare for our families, just to get like a little flavor. Leeks to cut off. Of course, bountiful seasonal pickles. There's our Swiss chard, not too clear. And there we go. Okay, now we're gonna end it. Stop show. Stop Zoom. Oh wait, Okay, so we have the quince. Now, it is not easy to cut, and that's why everybody went back to apples. But I promise you, it's well worth it. You need a good strong arm, good knife. There it is. Then we want to make sure that we cut we core it. Now, some people use a peach scooper or corer, but here we go. Then you could use a peeler, or I like to use the knife. And we make sure to put it in acidulated water so they don't turn brown. What I read in the 10th century Caliph kitchen book, Kitab al-Tabakh, is that they definitely come out much more aromatic and much more fragrant when cooked in a copper pot. So that's what we're going to do. And I have to tell you that I do see the difference. Hold on. So we're going to, now many people ask me, oh, Poopa, how could you not put water? Just sugar and quince? I say yes, because believe it or not, many of you bake and many of you know this, but for the younger generation or for people who just don't believe it, you put the sugar and the sugar slowly, slowly melts. Now, this is one of the most versatile fruits that you could imagine. There are so many ancient sugar. I only like to use domino. And here we go. We're going to just cover it with sugar. The actual recipe is in Aromas. So, Aromas of Aleppo. We're going to put this on the fire. Very low. Okay. And most desserts and most foods, actually meals, were cooked in cauldrons over the fire because ovens were not so readily available. They were dangerous, they were wood. So I learned to cook. Some people put things in the oven. This probably could have been put in the oven, but I like, one of the things you need to know about quince is you have to be very patient. It needs to be slowly, slowly cooked. There are so many different ways to enjoy safrachal. That's in Arabic. Membrillo in Portuguese and Spanish. And actually, marmalade, really the original marmalade was quince. And then slowly they started adding orange peel to it in Spain. So hundreds of years ago, marmalade was really quince. And that's where membrillo comes from. So just know when you're eating a quince, you're really eating the original marmalade. There's a fantastic dish called severgila that is a stew with lamb and meatballs that are stuffed either with meat or pistachios or pine nuts. And it's simmered with quince, raw quince. It's not first candied. And it's absolutely delicious. There's also, like we're doing the candied quince. I have now, this year, I'm doing quince in fila. So that should be interesting. Actually, I'll check it. Let's see how it's doing. Okay. This is something that I just put together before you came. It's phyllo dough. Could you see it, guys? Okay. And I think it's just about ready. This will be a nice treat for the holiday. because it'll add, hopefully, to a sweet new year. I told Yvette that I wasn't going to take questions, but then my daughter told me, Ma, people love to ask questions and you love to answer them. So I'm open. I just have to figure out how we're going to get this unmuted. Let's see. Okay, does anyone have questions? Could anyone hear me?
Okay, so I hear you. It's back to Michelle in Brooklyn again. I noticed that you did not measure the sugar.
Right.
As my grandmother and my mother-in-law, etc., you just poured it in. So would you say just enough to cover the fruit?
A little less than covering, because the fruit will let out a little liquid, much, much less than an apple or a pear. That's what's so attractive to chefs and home cooks and just the whole world, because it has so much pectin in it that it gels, so that it's not going to fall apart. But at the same time, it will let out some liquid. So not totally covered, just a little, just even.
And about how long would you be cooking that?
You can't overcook quince, which is amazing.
I see.
Use a thermometer. There is, I could post it, there's a certain degree that will tell you that it's gel-like. But once you could put your knife through it and you feel like it has like a gel-like feeling, it feels a little bit like a jelly, then you're done. And
Thank you.
People, I like to keep some, it's very interesting. It's seasonal. So it comes out in the fall. And when it comes out, I buy a case. As you could see, I have a ton. And what I do is I candy some, but I also slice them into wedges. I peel them, I slice them, and I put them in little Ziplocs, because they are absolutely delicious with stuffed vegetables, whether they're stuffed with meat, they could be stuffed with quinoa, they could be made dairy, you could steam them like baked apples. And a few years ago, I had a cute little incident. I went to have my hair blown in someone's apartment. So the young girl who was blowing my hair out, her mother, who was born in Syria and came maybe 10, 15 years ago to the US, came running and said, Rochi, my dear, guess what I'm using? And it was end of August. And I'm using the last of the suffragette, the last of the quince. Time for the new ones to come. So all year round, the quince could be enjoyed. And it's just amazing. Years ago, you couldn't even get a recipe with quince. But today, it's in magazines, and all of a sudden I'm reading Turkish, tapaki palace, jams, this. I had a passion, and I still do, for quince as from when I was a young girl. My mother would be preparing it, and I would look in the pot and see this beautiful color. And then traditionally, in fact, I got a few Instagrams, messages, comments saying, oh, my mother always prepares the quince with the stuffed eggplants every holiday. It's a tradition, besides preparing the sweet. So I had an affinity for quince from a young age. But now, all of a sudden, it's being reintroduced into the modern kitchen, which I'm thrilled about, because it's really a lovely fruit. It's more work, but well worth it. So yeah, any other questions? Oh, wow. Okay, so it must be very, it's a simple process. But I also have to say that the preparation of the quince, just like I said, how it brought me back to my mother, may she rest in peace, and to memories. We have to know that all our preparations and all the food is just bringing us back to our traditions, and especially now with the COVID. We need really more definition. And by following our traditions and preparing for the holiday, I know for myself, I'm feeling more centered. Even though I might not be having the kids, I'm still having deja vu of not having them for Pesach. It wasn't easy. And I'm sure everybody, some were tenting, some were going, everyone has a different way to handle the holiday. But for me, I know that just making the berachot and sending them to my children and doing as much as I can is helping me understand that, we need to know that ultimately the one thing we know for sure is that God is with us and that everything's going to be good. And if we just keep doing the right things and we keep preparing, we'll elevate all the food with those intentions. So I would love a question. I also could point out that if you really want a real crimson color, you could save the pits and put them in when you're cooking with the sugar. Also, there's a beautiful tea, a medicinal tea that you could use the pits with. You put them in a little cloth and you could make a lovely tea with it, and it's good. It helps in digestion, it helps for constipation. And these were written about hundreds of years ago in all the old manuscripts. The Ottoman times, they used everything. They used the peel, they used the flesh, they used the pits. And I feel like we're going back to all that harvesting and preparing. In fact, just like the quince was saved, I do the same with the fava beans. I take the fava beans, and one of my aunts taught me to steam them just a little bit. And all year long, we have delicious fava beans. So we should keep that in mind as well. Any other questions? Okay, so anyway, I wish everybody a wonderful holiday. Oh, I'm going to end, if I could, with a nice little video that I hope will inspire everybody to prepare quince. Ories, all the supermarkets have it, so there's no excuse. It's available.
Yes.
Yeah, you see it?
Yes.
Yes, you got it.
Oh, so happy.
Uh-huh.
I also want to slice this beautiful filet quince part. I wish I could share a piece with all of you. And once they're placed in a jar and in the refrigerator, they could last for 6 months. Nothing happens. The pectin and the sugar acts as a preservative. Nothing, you don't need to actually can them, which I've done in the past, but it's not necessary. Delicious with lamb chops, by the way. Okay, anyway, oh, let's see. It's not sure. Okay, I'm going to slice the quince tart. Does that look good?
Gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Yes, it really is. It's not only pretty, it's delicious. And very simple. The recipe for the stuffed eggplant with the quince and for the candied quince are in the Aromas of Aleppo. If Yvette would like, or if STA would like, I can send a recipe for the tart. My husband's waiting for a piece. There you go.
It's
Right?
beautiful, Poopa.
Yes. Okay, I wish everybody like a super happy holiday. Please prepare quince. Uri's has them. They're in Brooklyn. All the Middle Eastern supermarkets, the Turkish supermarkets have them. And a lot of the Armenian communities and Turkish communities and Arabic communities are really planting trees again. There's a whole movement, actually. And I was even thinking of planting a tree. And then they said, Poopa, you don't have a shot. We live a block away from the ocean. But it's amazing. One quince could actually weigh a pound.
Wow.
They're heavy. But that's how thick they are and how sturdy. And they could really last and make beautiful jellies. And also fruit leather. I have a dehydrator. And I was planning to, this year, one of the challenges besides the tart was I wanted to make the quince fruit leather, which they prepared quite a bit throughout the Arab world. And what they did was they put walnuts and they wrapped it with walnuts. But for some reason on the holiday, we don't like to really use nuts, so I'm not going to wrap mine because of the matriarch translates sin or something, but I decided that I am going to try to prepare the fruit leather. So anyway, happy holiday, everybody. I wish you the best. You should have health, happiness, and stick to what you're doing. Stay focused.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Poopa.